is all the way down, and my headphones are in. But my brightness is down just for my own battery.
Okay, we're trying this again. Okay.
Finding you.
Hello again. I tried to do this and there was echo, so I'm back. I am going to be joined by my college roommate. Well, one of my college roommates, Sarah, aka FOMO Machine. We were reconnecting last night and decided to just, exploit our adolescence a little bit more, like tell some stories from a cramped apartment in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So we're also recording on a Zoom call. Oh, wait. Let me add you in, Sarah.
It's fun.
Adding you.
Oh my God. Perfect woman.
Perfect woman. Okay, here you are. All right.
Hello. Someone just called you the perfect woman. How does that make you feel?
Imperfect.
Yeah, agreed. Whew, no woman is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we've followed each other for years. Oh, last night you were like, I'm so sorry I unfollowed you once. And I was like, Sarah, I post nudes and not everybody needs to see that. So
Oh
you're
my
forgiven.
God, that was so strange. I think I was just like trying to reduce like who am I in touch with that I actually talk to anymore?
I don't
like,
talk to anybody from school.
That's wild. I mean, I did it for years and then I've reconnected with a few.
Yeah, I mean, do you think we should say where we went to school? I mean,
Why not? Why
okay,
not?
we went to Fordham University, the Lincoln Center campus, not Bros Hill.
Yeah, boo Bros
So the
Hill.
main Fordham campus was in the Bronx, and we went to the campus right next to the fucking opera house.
Lincoln Center, the ballet and the opera and everything.
Trump Tower.
Yeah, Trump Tower. Did you know our first year at Fordham, I went and like photographed Fashion Week at Lincoln Center?
Wait, I did too.
No way. I don't remember. I don't think we met each other yet.
Yeah, we met sophomore year, and we were roommates sophomore year.
Mm-hmm. No, I think, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
What happened when you went to go photograph Fashion Week? Because mine was like a random coincidence.
Mine was pretty cool. It was like, wow, I'm in New York. I'm into photography. There is a fucking fashion event next door. I'm going. And so I took my DSLR, my like Nikon, whatever, and I met a bunch of the photographers. And it was just fun, like doing street photography basically with like both the attendees and any models I could find. And then the photographers were like, you should get in these photos with these people so we could get photos of them. And then I got photos with like Sean Lennon and Sean Lennon's girlfriend, who's gorgeous, Charlotte Kemp Mule.
I didn't meet anybody famous.
I mean,
my situation was like, I did the same thing. And then there was this like 60-something French man who was just like, your camera is so beautiful. You are so beautiful. Come be my apprentice. And I went to Fashion Week with him, and I thought he was going to try to hook up with me. But instead he was just like a weird helicopter dad. Like he was like, you're 18, you can't drink. And I was just like, this isn't fun. I did not sign up to be.
You were hoping he would you'd have to like tell him to stop making moves on you versus.
Yeah, I thought I'd have to swat his hands away from my crotch, and no.
That's really funny. No, yeah.
Same experience then.
Kind of a version of it. But yeah, I remember first things I remember at you were like, you always had a bagel with cream cheese in our philosophy class, I think.
Oh, we did meet in philosophy class because our school required us to take philosophy because it's a Jesuit school. Yeah.
Yes. And then I ended up majoring in it and I loved it. It was like my favorite thing. I love that professor. He like studied physics for a while. Then he went to grad school for physics. And then he was like, physics is stupid. Philosophy is smart. And I was like, wow. I've never met anybody who was like gonna say that. You know what I mean? That was pretty cool.
I liked that class as well, and I feel like I was really the typical angry atheist college
You are.
student.
I bet you were. No, I loved it because I did really well in it. And he was like, you're made for this. And I was like, okay. And then I remember he was like mad at me because I tried to transfer to NYU and do a double major in philosophy and marketing. And I think he lost respect for me. But I was trying to figure out how to have a job.
Wait, what was your job at the time?
Well, I mean, I was in college at the time, but I was like aware that philosophy was like either a degree before you get a trade or go to grad school, or it's a weird track to academia. I was like, I need to maybe do something else too. And I have ego issues because allegedly NYU is where smart, cool people go. So I got to go there. And so
NYU
stupid.
is where I wanted to go as well. And I think it's just like a known joke amongst Fordham students that like we all wanted to go to NYU.
Oh, everyone did.
We were like the B students, you know? Like
I'll try, but not that hard, and like only in things I want.
Exactly. And I was partying every single night, I think.
Wow.
Commuting to Williamsburg to go to the DIY shows, you know.
That's wild. Yeah, you were like incredibly brave. I was not yet ready for New York. I was like, I need to stay in a 2 to 3 block radius. I can't believe anybody goes to Brooklyn. I think I went to Brooklyn like twice to visit my friend at Pratt, and it felt like, oh my God, like to the ends of the earth. Getting off at Hoyt Schermerhorn from Lincoln Center, I was like, this is so far. They're so brave. Like, it was crazy. It was really crazy.
Meanwhile, like I go back to New York because my mom lives there, but like now people are living out by like Broadway Junction and like, you know, like where the J and the L meet up. And I mean, that's how far the gentrification has spread in Brooklyn.
Yeah. And it's the things have changed too. Like they built Atlantic Barclays Center, I think in 2012. And that obviously changed the neighborhood and the trains a lot, you know? Mm-hmm. Like I remember Hoyt, that stop was like desolate. It's no longer desolate.
I know there's a coffee shop at every corner now.
Yeah, exactly. But so, then,
we shared a bedroom wall for a year.
Yes,
and
did.
It was a very cramped apartment.
Yes.
I mean, it was like, people are like, where did you live in New York? And I try to describe that neighborhood and people are like, where? Why? Because it was just like basically New Jersey. And it was like a 3-bedroom apartment. You could just really fit like a bed and a desk in each room. Yeah. And like you had the tiniest room of all 3 rooms because you got the last pick.
Listen, here's what I knew, Zoe. I was like, they need more space than me. Both of them need it. I'm just not going to deal with the idea of vouching for myself because
why stand up for yourself?
Yeah, that was definitely my mindset for many years. Why stand up for yourself? But also, come on, like it's not that big a deal. Like we were in college and I did have a closet.
You did have a closet?
Yeah, you may not remember it because this is my one thing that I would like to tell you about.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, like my major memory is like I had a closet in the common area, which was a kitchen, living room, hallway, you know? And that was where all my shit was. And then by the end of my time there, you just started putting your shit in it. And wow. You could have asked.
Yeah, I had my whole ass closet to myself. I manspreaded.
She manspreaded. Also, yeah, women can manspread too. That's something we don't talk about much.
Yeah, you know, manspreading is a genderless concept. Anybody can do it.
No, it is funny. It's like there's something about it that like anybody can do. But
I thought you were gonna say something way worse.
No,
because our other roommate, who will go unnamed, would always be like, you woke me up fucking in the shower. Fuck you. And I guess that's a humble brag on my part though.
No, that is a flex.
I was having so much sex, I bothered my roommates. Like
no, last year I got like a note on the door from the neighbor.
I have to interrupt the podcast to briefly plug our sponsor, Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol is a cop show, but make it cute and underage. It's a bunch of little puppies running around as cops and firemen. Adorable, honestly. Like, they save like kittens from trees and like trains from rock slides. What the fuck is the like childhood focus on trains about? How have we never moved on from that? It reminds me of like that game with like the hoop and the stick. The fixation on trains? Anyway, Paw Patrol reminds me of the military because it's a bunch of young little puppies making terrible choices for the country and themselves. What 18-year-old man, I mean maybe a woman too, is smart enough to make that choice to go to war? Do you think maybe it's because they have to? Do you think maybe it's because maybe there's no reason to live anymore? No, I think you can find other ways to live, but I think people think that maybe that's the one, and I don't agree. Okay. Back to the episode. Yeah.
I wrote the most fucked up essay trying to get into NYU.
What was the subject? You don't have to say. If it
My
was...
grandparents killing themselves. But you know why I wrote about that? Because the Ivy League girl in my town whose parents went to Ivy Leagues sat me down and interviewed me, and she mined me for my trauma. And she when she heard that, she was like, that's your story.
It's so funny how on social media, when we are like dumping our trauma and know that like a part of our brain does know like we're going to be getting attention from this, even if we are saying a very important message. It's so funny how that same dynamic like comes out in the college essay. Like, it doesn't sound exploitative, but at the end of the day, we are like, okay, what's the most fucked up thing I can tell college admissions to make them be like, wow, like they've been through a lot. Like, we should.
And there is like this bizarre like chain of conflict of interest where it's like it's totally valid to want to be understood in terms of something that has shaped you, and it undoubtedly affected my mother and therefore deeply affected me.
Wow.
I don't think I understood that at the time, you know, but it was like, this is in general how I feel, especially as a woman, because everybody expects you to make your work about your personal life. And like, right. Of course, my personal life is part of who I am, but I've really recently reached a point where it's like, you know, I need to be thinking like, yeah, there might be minor catharsis in sharing this experience I had, but there actually might be more pain in revealing so much of who I am to people who don't know me. Like, maybe what I need to do is like talk about that with my friends and make art about it, and not like fucking tell everyone about myself, because I end up feeling really naked, and like that's how it feels when I've like bombed doing stand-up like about my life.
I think, I mean, bombing during stand-up is not a experience I've ever had, but like that, I think that's like a very brave thing to do, especially as a female comedian, you know? I
think I have like an excitement for risk taking. I think risk taking is really fun for me. And of course I like to talk. So it's like, cool, like we can do those both right now. Like that's also, I think there's something fun with stand-up as a woman for me that's like, no one thinks I'm funny. And like I get on stage and I'm like, funny. Well, that's nice of you because it's the internet. But like, if you don't know me and we're just in a room, you probably assume that I have nothing to say. Or if I do have something to say, you're probably mad at me about it. So it's really not a great venue for women, in my opinion. I mean, some of them are able to work it for themselves, and I think I do like it still, but like it's not, I learned like I'm fighting too much to be focusing on it still. And honestly, thank God for like not really, for the whole scene being kind of like vanquished in New York in a way. It's like kind of restarting, which I think is good, which is good for the scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think every niche community had its purging of predators, and obviously, like, there's some really interesting case studies in comedy specifically, like a lot of things like, I don't know, I think in the past few years, we've been all having this conversation about the degrees of sexual violence and exploitation because, like, yeah, it is very, like, it's a spectrum of abuse, and I think that also like leads.
Abuse is a spectrum. That's wild. Yeah.
Hey, so I have to interrupt the podcast again for another ad, unfortunately. This costs money to make, so, you got to take money from someone. And this time, it's for abuse. Yep, abuse. We all know it well. Sometimes we do it to others. Sometimes we do it to ourselves. Sometimes we accept it. It's a lot like the wheel, it's like you take it for granted, right? Abuse sucks. I really don't like it. I think the one I hate the most is self-abuse. But it is normal to sometimes be down, but you should be nice to yourself. And also, you should be nice to other people. When I think about abuse of power, I think about 2 pizza chains in New York. I think about Joe's Pizza, the famous one. It's on like 14th and like 2nd, I believe. And then they have a Williamsburg location. They have all these pictures with celebrities in there, and the pizza's pretty good still. It's like impressively good. There's always people ordering it. And to be honest, at least in the Williamsburg one lately, the workers seem happy. Speedy Romeo, on the other hand, is a highly overrated pizza place in Bushwick that used to be amazing. I remember the first time I had Speedy Romeo, I was like, hell yeah. It was great. But, they popped, as you do when you're good. A lot like Roberta's, to be frank. Maybe this should be about Roberta's. Honestly, it could be about either of them. Damn, that ad spot got cut off because I got a call. Anyway, both of those pizza places suck now. They really suck. Yet, for some reason, people keep going back to them. I think because they're famous or because they used to be good and we have a hard time accepting that they suck now. But the fact is, nobody should be spending all that money on that pizza. You can go buy shitty pizza for way cheaper if what you want is shitty pizza. But nobody should be fooling themselves. Honestly, Roberta's and Speedy Romeo should have some integrity. Surely they know, right? But sometimes I wonder maybe they don't know because, sometimes, I think I said this in the last episode, when quality declines with anything, it's almost like it's imperceptible if you're around it the whole time, Abuse. Thanks, abuse. Without you, what would I be?
Have an incredibly nihilistic acceptance. I guess how a Russian would think about their government probably is like, why would I waste my time thinking about it? It's terrible. And I'm starting to reach that personally. And I'm starting to notice this happens. And I don't ever want to not be engaged, but I also don't know if it makes sense to how much trauma should I be opening myself up to every day, because there's so much you can go and just traumatize yourself all day long.
It's a great point. I think that in some ways it's a privilege to ignore it, but then not for everybody. I think for a lot of people, it's like, if you pay attention, how do you mentally survive?
The thing is, I think you have to think about what are my values? Sometimes your values can be at odds. Like with money, I like to have fun with money, but I also like to save. Much like with politics, it's I want to be informed, but I don't want to be traumatized. And how can I create boundaries around my mental life in order to try to do it? Try to do it. It's
Here,
fun.
I have a Sheraton pen. There you go.
I met a male with a personal massager, and I put it on my forehead right away, and it was ow! It hurt so bad.
Wait, what?
I always thought personal massagers were just a coded word for just sexual toy.
It is sometimes.
They can also just be used to massage.
It's so true, and that's people will always be like, what's a good gender neutral toy? I'm the magic wand, because it's literally marketed as a back massager.
Yeah.
I mean, I have lots of sex things around me at all times, like lubes and vibrators. What else? That's actually it right now. That's it for now. I've got like a random bra with like
Let me see
an
that.
open nipple area. That's like
Love
a
that.
ancient Victoria's Secret bra that I got on. It's got, you know, like little nipple peeky boos. Welcome to my desk. It's covered in porn, so I'm not gonna show you because like this is the Instagram I got taken down.
Okay.
This is where my boyfriend live streams from on Twitch.
What's your boyfriend do? What's he into?
Records and like a record distribution stuff. But he's just kind of like, honestly, I think his dream job would be to like host a TV show where he just like is a commentator. He's good at surfing the net professionally.
There are people like that. They're awesome. I'm amazed. I'm like, how did you find this? You know? People know like where to go and like how to make their algorithm work for them, and they make all these accounts and all that stuff, you know?
The way I got the algorithm to work for me, I think, was just going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation, is like I sold my most deep and intimate personal stories for like $50 to like Refinery 29, and like now I run a fucking online magazine and I pay people like 5 times that amount, or you know, and I'm just like like I told everybody all my deepest darkest secrets for $50 in 2014. Yeah.
Trash. I mean, obviously there's a reason why it popped off, but that is so unethical. The paying the artist nothing thing. Oh, I don't really want to say like the name of the company I worked for that did that, but I found it very hypocritical. I was like, oh, like we're allegedly like this like liberal, like pro women thing, yet why is it that the female engineers, which by the way we're still underpaid, are paid so much more than the female creatives? So much more. When the investment is the investment, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, why wouldn't, you know, if this platform is about the content, then why are we undervaluing the content? Oh, because people like that are used to being treated like shit, and that's why you think that's appropriate? I disagree. It made me really turned off.
And they'll also like highly monetize those articles too. It's not like they're not making money on these articles. Like when I wrote for other wrote for other places, they would tell me I had to link to Amazon or I had to link to a certain website. And I'm just like, I own my own fucking sex toy company. I'm looking at my own goddamn sex toy company.
Love it. Yeah. It's all about building your own thing.
It still has limitations because like, I mean, it does. I mean, my own media content channels don't have limitations, but like when I was in that period of writing for other, nobody.
Interesting. I mean, you didn't only use social. You did. I mean, I don't remember super clearly, but I do remember you working for Refinery or writing some for Refinery 29.
And Refinery 29 was like a very different publication 6 years ago. I'm not trying to act like it. Like it definitely is like a male-owned, buzzy feminist publication, and they've done a lot of fucked up stuff since then. And you know, stuff you can just find on the internet. But it gave me like, I would be in a bathroom and people would be like, you wrote that Refinery 29 article about pegging, woo, like, is that you? Haha. And I just be like, it's me.
That's fun. That's really fun. I mean, it really was cool, like how early in life, like you had such a kind of like clear idea of like what you were into. I remember I really didn't know. And I'm only now understanding. It literally has taken me so long. And it's like literally, I would say this year.
Can I show people watching the G-rated shot that is
not
has
the
no
butt one.
Not the butt one.
Yeah,
the one that here, I'll show you on Zoom before I this one.
Sorry, my own bullshit's blocking. Yeah.
Okay. This is a photo I took of Sarah on film, and I also developed it myself.
Wow, look at my hand. Sorry, I'm mad at myself.
It's a really beautiful photo, actually.
It's a nice photo. Thank you. No, I have other photos that you've taken of me that I really like. Yeah. I mean, there's one of me on the roof where I'm smiling that I really, really like. I used it on Facebook for a while. It was really fun because my hair is in my face. I like my hair being in my face. I don't know. It's just, it feels so, it's like I'm here, but I'm not, you know? You can look at me a little bit, but I'm having fun, you know? Just like that's how that makes me feel, you know?
I feel like you and I got along at age 20 also because I think we just both really like, aside from me taking over your closet, I feel like we were both just very like, we were like, do your thing. Like, I'm over here, you're over there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we were very like, I get you, you're cool. And we didn't like poke at, like, we had such little conflicts, really.
No, I had a lot of respect and interest. I'll never forget one hilarious thing you did in the bathroom.
What I do?
You might have forgotten. It was really funny. You put a sign that was like, "This is a women's bathroom. No pooping allowed."
That's funny.
I'll never forget it. I thought it was really funny. And then I remember your what are they, collages? They were great. They were always great. That's cool. And then when you started, like, I love that you had the guts to know that they were good enough to try to get them out there, because I think that's like a lot of like emotional comfort to like understand that like your work is not just like cute and for the house, and like like you do deserve to actually make it like a thing, like other people would like it. And I guess you probably realized that because people probably complimented you, right? So
I mean, I think a lot of, I mean, my art, I have some bad art. I've made a lot of bad art. You can't really make good art without also making bad art, I think. I think it's just, it was my gateway into sex ed. Like, I wouldn't be a sex educator if I hadn't made porn collages. I mean, I would have probably found it a different way, but it was like the porn art that led to the actual knowledge and education, because like I still collect porn to this day. Like, my basement has hundreds of porn magazines in them. I was telling you last night too that like one of our other roommate threw away some of my porn because she was like judgmental of me for having so much porn. And I was just like, it was also like late 50s Playboy, like, which is not porn. It's like
barely porn.
Yeah,
Hardly.
It's like soft core beauty shoots that are naked, you know? But
Yeah.
she threw these porns away that are probably worth a lot today. And like, just also have a special place in my heart as like a porn collector, you know?
What was hard for me is I remember being criticized by her for being too modest.
Weird.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I get that you're from a place where it's like normal for people to grab your ass, but I'm not. And I don't like being, first of all, I don't like being talked to on the street. I'm learning how to deal with that.
Yeah, New York street harassment.
So yeah, bad. And I'm learning, like, even if I like the way this looks and I think it's nice and I think it looks good maybe on Instagram, I don't want to be around a bunch of men in it. I just, it's not me not being comfortable with my sexuality, just that I don't want to wear it in every situation, right?
I think that's a lot of what being 20 is about also, is like, I'm expressing myself and like, maybe I'm going to push the envelope and go a little too far and reel it back in a little too far. Like, it's really playing with that boundary of like,
yeah,
how do I want to present myself in the world? And at one point, I mean, certainly for me, I transitioned from like wearing sundresses as my main outfit to like crop tops and booty shorts. And like, I don't know if that was just like a thing one day. I was like, this is what I'm going to wear now. But then I like reeled it back in. Like, there's so many clothes I used to wear. And, you know, I just can't really think of many situations where those are clothes I'd be wearing, but I hang on to them. Like, not like there's anything against that, but like, oh man, I was in Ann Arbor, which is where University of Michigan is, during freshman orientation week. I was just like coincidentally in near the university, and I was just like, oh, everyone's butt cheeks are hanging out. Like, I hope. And like, I noticed myself judging younger women, and like, I think we all do this subconsciously, and it's like good to be aware of, right? When we're judging other people who are doing stuff that we also once did, like, and also like, I'm naked online, so what am I, like, it's not like, oh, you slut. It's just like, be careful, your butt cheeks are out, you know, like, not,
or like, oh shit,
so,
I remember when I thought I wanted that, and I remember what happened later that night that I didn't like. And it's like, it's literally not even about slut shaming.
Yeah, we've had traumatizing experiences.
Yeah. It's not even about slut shaming or being judgmental or really having any firm belief about how anybody should present. It's just like, honestly, first of all, for me now it's a place of empathy. But anytime in the past, I'll be honest with you, I feel like I discovered like organically feminism in myself on accident because I was sexist at Fordham.
We all, like, everybody is sexist, like,
of course, you're born sexist.
just like,
I think
racist, etc. And it's like the undoing. Yeah.
So I remember like second year of Fordham, I was in a philosophy class, and by this time I accidentally had become a guy's girl, not of my own making, but because of the things I was interested in. And so when another woman was in my class, in a more advanced philosophy class, I was like, what's that bitch doing here? That was my first heart reaction. What's that bitch doing?
I have to argue with somebody who's exactly the same as me because they're also a woman. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like,
when you accidentally become a token, you accidentally identify with being the token, and you start identifying with like the power structure.
Yeah.
And then honestly, it's like that whole week it bugged me that I had that reaction. And then I was like, it was kind of how it was with religion for me. Like I had a problem and it bugged me and I thought about it for a week. And then I was like, oh, this is the whole thing. This is the whole thing. This is the whole thing. Like that girl is totally fine. What's wrong is the society that I live in where that's how my heart reacted to her, you know? And then similar. Well, it makes me think like 2 or 3 years later, I used to like, you know, not be annoyed by women who were more successful than me, but I was like intimidated to the extent that I tried to like rationalize it as like there was something about them and me that just didn't values align for me. Like I really just tried to explain it to myself. Like when someone I admired them, I had issues with it. And it was weird because I was like, man, I wish I had female friends and I like these girls. Like I'm an engineer and I do comedy, so there's not a lot of women. I'm like, what if I just tried making friends with the women who scare me? And I did, and a lot of them are my friends now. And I'm like, wait, this is great. Like, it doesn't have to be competition. It really doesn't. Like, you can love and support people, and you can. I love my male friends, and I love my gal pals, and like I learned so much from all of them, and like it really unlocked a whole world for me when I really discovered that. But you know, the world makes it hard for you to learn that. It takes a long time.
It reminds me of how when we are dating or fucking a man who is either cheating on you with a woman or is talking to a woman and in a way that feels like it's threatening your relationship, the impulse is to take it out on the other woman instead of the man. Yeah, like that's a classic example of that like, I mean, geez, like I was in a relationship with one of those types of dudes who like tries to make you jealous of their ex and is like, yeah, I still love her, and how much I obsessed over, oh, what does she have that I don't? And then I was like, oh, wait, you are just a fucking asshole. Your ex-girlfriend is probably the shit. Like,
exactly. Sounds like she left you because you're an asshole, and now I'm stuck with you, and I should be her friend. Because like that's always the thing. Like in general, men like who have too many exes they don't like or a history of exploded relationships, that's probably his fault. Usually.
Yeah. I mean, who's the common denominator? It's not always because you're an asshole. Maybe you like just haven't figured your shit out or you're like an alcoholic or there's something like that. But like when there is a pattern. Like I know that my pattern prior to moving to Detroit was just like a lot of drunk, barely sober sex that was like very risky and experimental, and I was just like, I want to feel something, you know? And like, I don't think that I was ever actively trying to hurt anybody, but I think I would inadvertently hurt people who would develop real feelings for me. And I would just be like, I'm a drunk bitch, leave me alone. You're not fucking with my brain. Yeah.
Also, there is almost this retaliatory version of feminism that is toxic. That's like, oh, you guys use me, so I'm going to use you. And that's like really mean. Nobody should be using anybody, and everybody has feelings. And even if they don't you know, this is the same goes both ways. It's like women often play it cool, like, oh, I don't want anything. And, you know, guys do that too. Guys do that too. And like, you got to know that, like, you know, what people say and how people feel and what they behave. It's like, sometimes you say what you wish was true or you believe is true, but it isn't necessarily true, you know, and it's hard to totally know yourself.
I think that's a good reason for everybody to just always err on the side of taking it slow, and also why consent is not just about the words we're saying, it's about our body language and our facial expressions. And yeah, like, you know, if you're being like, yeah, sure, that's not an enthusiastic yes.
No, that's not.
And I don't think people are ever trying to be intentionally misleading, although I think a lot of people like to blame, you know, victim blame, as they say. But like, yeah, none of us are in the habit of, like, the fear of rejection really makes it such a loaded baked potato. But it's like, what if you could just see the no and the rejection as the, like, a rejection of a sex act instead of rejection of you as a person? Like,
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, then that's where I get to, like, how you relate to how people treat you often has to do with how you relate to yourself. Like, if you really love yourself and respect yourself and someone doesn't want to have sex with you, you go, you know, here's my cocky attitude. I'm like, that's a you problem. You know, I'm like, oh, you don't want to have sex with me? That sucks. I'm sorry. But like, but also it's like, because now that's like my, almost maybe my defense mechanism is to like joke about it. But like, if
you're tweaking it. Yeah.
If you love yourself, like, you at least don't let it like insult your whole fucking like version of like who you are and like your worth, and like make it all about your body, which is what women do all the time. And it makes me so damn sad because it's usually never about that. And if it is, fuck that guy, because you don't need him. You don't want him anyway. If he's not attracted to you, but you don't want to sleep with him.
I honestly think everybody has those body insecurities, and there's just more of a normalization for women to talk about them. But if I've learned anything, like selling my nudes on OnlyFans, you know, it's just like men are, or, you know, like everyone's just really insecure, and it's just, it comes out in different ways, and there are different things that we worry about, like we were talking about like the erection thing. Like I actually was like, I got paid to consult on like research on erections and how erections like impact our social relationships. Like it was more of like, as a sex educator, what do you think about people and erections? Like, and it was such a, I mean, like, it was like an hour-long conversation. I never thought I could talk about a thing that like I personally couldn't care less about, because I'm just like, cool, that's what your hands, mouth, dildos are for. But it took me a really long time to get there. And I would rather have a partner who's just like, yep, my boner's wonky, you know, like, let's do this, I'm gonna fucking eat the shit out of your pussy. Like, I could not fucking care less.
Yeah, the point is, like, in general with all activities, I'm like, okay, maybe I want to have sex right now with him or whatever situation I'm in. Whatever, for whatever reason, one of us is not working. It can happen later. It doesn't have to happen right now. Not everything has to be satisfied right now.
Sarah, I thought sex had to be instantaneous, and I thought it had to look like it does in the movies. Sarah, you're telling me that's wrong?
Yeah, No, in a way, there's almost like you can spin it more positively. Like, I think part of what is so nice that I really understand about sex for me is both safety and desire. And like, if I have to wait a little bit, like, that's very pleasurable. Like, if I have to think about, good.
I want to chew on the cut of your body.
Yeah, like that's fun. Like that's what I remember about high school being so erotic, is like, first of all, we have all these controls that are like pretty healthy, which is
can't fuck it. I mean, you could, but
kind of like, it's hard. Like, you don't have a car until you're 16. Your parents probably don't want you leaving the house. That's kind of like hot. And like,
yeah, like I'm under the comforter with my phone, just like, hey, I don't want anybody to hear me, but
yeah, it's hot.
I miss like
Yeah.
late night. I miss getting 4 hours of sleep because I was up all night fucking on the phone.
It's awesome stuff.
Oh.
And like and like that's the healthy version of like digital sex, in my opinion, where it's like real like deep desire and longing, not just like, oh, like look, there's 1,000 gazillion people who I can treat like shit whenever I want to, and I
Oh
can
my
fuck
God.
them and with no consequences because none of them know each other and none of them know my friends.
In
So
a
like
fucked up way. Oh yeah, continue.
I'm just sorry. It's like, it's not like I'm anti-technology. I'm a software engineer and I use
Woo.
Instagram and I'm
Evidently.
obviously like, into it, but like, there's ways to use these things for good and there's ways to use these things in a toxic way. And sometimes what's crazy, especially with Instagram, I always am thinking about this. It's part of why my handle is FOMO machine. Is like,
I love it.
I think there's good FOMO and bad FOMO. And and
there will always be FOMO. You could always be missing out on something.
Yeah. But sometimes if you don't want to miss out on something, that's a good sign that you should pursue it. So there's a beautiful way to look at FOMO as well. What was I going to say? Oh, like Instagram, you can, if you don't have the right boundaries, you can let it ruin your life. But if you have the right boundaries, it can be great. And that's
I think that's a fucked up silver lining of COVID and people really having to not just negotiate sex, but like how they're gonna meet up, and like you're forced to have like a negotiation conversation before sex is even in the picture. I think that's like, I think COVID in a weird way is strengthening our consent skills.
Man.
Yeah. And then
it can go both ways. Like, I feel like some people are in COVID relationships right now, which is like, ooh, I'm scared of germs and I don't have any better options. So now we're together.
Yeah.
But part of what's good about COVID is like you get to just do lots of normal shit together, like go to the grocery store and like cook and like do basic stuff that's like you should be able to do those things with someone you really care about. And I think that's really pretty. Like that's nice. Go on walks, go to the park, read a book,
100%.
So it's romantic. Like I was like, there were definitely times where I, over the course of this whole lockdown was like, is this guy only talking to me because I'm convenient and right here and he has no other options because maybe I'm some kind of lunatic for being willing to go on a socially distanced walk. By the way, how Victorian is that? May I take you on a socially distanced walk? It's like, that feels weird. Whoa. Anyway, yeah, like you can get really insecure about dating during this time, but also like, trust yourself, maybe your instincts. If you're feeling bad about it, then don't do it. But then question, like, why do you feel bad? Are you making it up? Sometimes you don't know.
Yeah. My brain is just like, my brain looks so different than it did. I mean, I'm stating the obvious here. I'm just like, I feel like we've all done a lot of growing up in the last 8 months. 8 months?
Yeah.
I don't know. I adopted a COVID puppy. I had a Corona adoption, like I got a dog now. And I'm just like, wow, like my priorities are so different. My priorities are like my family and loved ones and, my family, including all the creatures in this house, including my boyfriend, and just like, yeah, like the new love language of space and how much I love my alone time now and cannot get enough of it. And like, I was going on a hike with my dog Randy in the woods the other day, and I was like, what was I doing this time last year? I certainly was not on a fucking hike. Like,
yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I just see someone just ask, what if you feel completely asexual and have since March? That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, also asexuality isn't something that comes and goes. Like people who are asexual, but also people who are asexual have sex. So I don't know where this question is like coming from, but like, listen, nobody's horny right now. It's this least sexy time to be alive, or the most sexy, depending on how you look at it.
Oh, I'll be honest. I did not feel sexy in February and March. Not at all. I was like, oh my God, nothing about that was sexy.
I have a podcast with my boyfriend. It's called Hot Brain, and we have a interview coming up that's with a licensed sex therapist Angie Gunn where we talk about like libido during COVID. So if anybody wants like actual therapist advice, like that's coming up on the horizon. Not to plug my own content.
When it's organic and you're excited about it, don't hold back.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. I'm literally plugging my stuff all the time, and I was like, is this annoying? And it's like, no. I just like it. And I'm doing things I like to do. And because I'm excited, I'm telling people about it.
Well, I mean, since we are getting towards the end, and we are like streaming on Instagram, but we're also recording this for FOMO Foundation. Like where can everybody who's on the live who doesn't know necessarily like where to find FOMO Foundation, where can they find that? And then I'll tell FOMO Foundation where to find me.
Hell yeah. Okay, so FOMO Foundation is a podcast that I run. My name is Sarah. My Instagram is FOMO Machine. If you're interested in my podcast, you can go to my Instagram page and you can click the link to my Patreon. And then you'll see all the details about my podcast. I post free stuff on my Patreon and paid stuff. And it's new. It's baby. I have 5 cute little subscribers.
It's baby.
Yeah. So honestly, come for free or come to support. Either way, I'm excited to share. That's where I'm at.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm hyped to reconnect with a old friend.
I know. I mean, this doesn't feel like we had that much catching up to do. Like I feel like talking to you feels like it always did. Like you look the same in a good way. Like seriously, like it's like a decade has not elapsed.
Thank you.
I guess for podcast listeners / any person who randomly found this live, I am Zoe Ligon, aka Thongria. The name has no meaning. It is just my handle.
I always wondered what the hell?
I always wonder too how that it just, you know what? It was coincidentally my Instagram handle when my first article blew up, and I just I guess I gotta keep this because it's how people know me now. Like I see somebody in the comments is calling me Ria, like RIA. Like that's kind of cute. I like that. You can also just call me Thong. That's fine. Yeah. But I own Spectrum Boutique, which is a sex toy store. That is my main grind. Although I also have a book that just came out called Carnal Knowledge that I published with my friend Elizabeth Renstrom, who honestly, Sarah, you might have met at one point because I met her around the same time I met you. But anyway, that's a story for another day.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about
forever
so many things. This was
so
wonderful.
Thanks. I had a good time.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so glad this was recorded also, because I think that even though we touched base a little bit last night, like I think it is nice to connect with somebody that feels like you knew in a different lifetime and just be like reaffirmed, like, oh, maybe I wasn't as awful or crazy as I thought I was, or like, I don't know, I thought you were really gonna be like, Zoe, you were a menace.
To be honest, I really think it's actually very important that we talked about that one roommate who shall not be named. I did a bad thing to her once too, and I feel bad about it. I did a bad thing where there was menstrual blood in the shower and I was really grossed out by it. And I was like, bitch, you better get back and you better clean this up because I don't want to be in here. I was very sensitive about menstrual blood and I should have just not been, but I was. And then I didn't know how to deal with it and I made her feel bad. And I don't think that was nice of me. And I'm sorry if she comes across it, I'm sorry for that. And I'm also sorry for sleeping back on.
I'm going to put out my apology to you and our other roommate that I feel like I was really reckless with the men I brought over, and I was certainly putting myself in danger, but like, I don't think it's appropriate to just have a train of men fucking you in your apartment where like other people live without just checking in with your roommates. Like, it depends on your relationship, but I think that had I had that same roomie set up today, I would be like, hey, is it cool if I have this person over?
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever did that. I would just be like, come on in. It'd be like just a given that it was okay.
I believe you.
Come on, Sarah. Make everybody think I was having a wild and crazy sex life.